Good morning, y'all. Happy Monday. Welcome back. Today, it's a pretty simple and straightforward vlog. There's, of course, a little bit of footage of me going and get my weekly breakfast at Hub City Diner. I did forget to record most of the meal on account of my girl Dina is finally back from vacation, and I was just too busy catching up and yapping with her to record the food. So there's gonna be a little bit of Hub City Diner footage, but the meat of today's episode is ranking movies submitted by my fans. And if you're wondering to yourself, Gerald, why aren't you talking about my favorite movie? Well, it's because you missed your opportunity. So go ahead, follow me on TikTok and Instagram right now. You can pause the video if you must, but go follow me on TikTok, go follow me on Instagram. That's where all my prompts are and all my questions about, what my content is. So just go follow. All right, cue the intro. Good morning. Y'all, I have genuinely no plans. I don't know what we're vlogging today besides breakfast. So good morning. You know where we are. I hope my girls are here this morning because the fellas last week, they just don't care about me as much, you know? All right, let's see what we got. Good morning. I missed you. Recorded a whole thing, not on 0.5. Why did I do that? Anyways. I am a napkin abuser, okay? If there's anything you need to know, I am a napkin abuser. I will, just the smallest inconvenience, napkin. The trees, I don't know if these are made of trees or not, but I'm not helping the environment by the rate at which I use napkins or tissue, whatever you want to call those. The humidity, y'all, the humidity is at such a severity that the sugar is essentially sand. It's, I know that I choose to continue living in a literal swamp, but it's the price I'll pay, you know? Y'all, y'all don't understand how fucking good this food is. Yes, I come back every single Saturday because it makes me feel closer to my grandmother, who is, dead. But this food is so fucking good, and the people are so nice, and I take my time eating, so when I leave, I'm full and happy and ready to go back to bed. But okay, tonight's special is hamburger steak. And okay, I think I figured out what we're doing for the rest of the vlog, so let's cut to that, I guess. Okay, I wasn't joking. I told y'all I did not record much footage besides me talking to Dina and leaving the place. However, let's get into the meat of this episode where we're going to be ranking movies suggested to me by my legion of fans. Now, of course, we're using tiermaker.com for this, so shout out to them. Not an ad, not sponsored, but where else are people making tier lists these days? We're gonna work our way from the bottom up. So coming in at the D tier is Signs. M. Night Shyamalan aside, this movie was just so frustrating. I remember watching it as a kid and being like, there's too much of nothing going on. I couldn't care less. I really had hoped at the end of the day the aliens would just eat them all alive. But there are some iconic moments. The baseball bat, the cups of water being left out, the knife under the door to try to get a glimpse of the alien. This movie has been parodied so much in pop culture that I'm sure there was a loud gasp across the world that I put it at the D tier, but it just the religious thematic of it all is not for me. I don't really care about crop circles. All of it just was too much. And not to forget, Mel Gibson playing a priest, that didn't age well. So I think I'm entirely justified in the year 2025 to put Signs in the D tier. Next up in the C tier, Shawshank Redemption. Now, hold on. I can already feel y'all getting up in arms about this movie being in the C tier. However, as a white man in the year 2025, it is utter bullshit that that man over the course of 20 years was able to dig a tunnel and escape. Meanwhile, Red, who had already been there all this time, he hunkered down, locked in, did his time, and got released the respectable way. You left him behind, and sure, you left him some clues, you left him some money. I don't care. I don't care. Hated it. Hate the concept. Hate that he was crawling through a river of shit. There's just just the thought of it is enough to just get me frustrated all over again. However, it is very interesting that after 36 years, that's right, this movie came out in 1994, that after 36 years, not a single thing has changed about the penal system. It's horrifying. Abolish private prisons. Like, just get rid of them. But I will admit, the scene of him clanking and just like cracking the pipe open and waiting for the thunder, that did inspire me. It did motivate me. It had me thinking, hey, maybe if I ended up in prison, I could escape too. Wrong message. That's the wrong message to get here, but still, an iconic scene. And it's a good movie. It looks great. It aged poorly in the sense that nothing has changed with the prison system, but sorry, y'all. Shawshank, C tier. All right, up first in the B tier, it's going to be Avatar. You guessed it, The Blue People. It looked great. I'm not gonna lie. It was a good looking movie. It was engaging, entertaining, but I don't need to see any more white saviors. I'm sorry. I don't. The greater themes of this movie really is what puts it in the B tier. Capitalism, bad. Military-industrial complex, bad. Calling people that you are unfamiliar with savages and thinking they're low intelligence, bad. All of the messages are really, really good and very important, but unfortunately, the people who need to hear them are not going to listen, you know? Next in the B tier, Tarzan. Okay, yeah, soundtrack, bomb. Soundtrack, excellent, good music. Thank you, Phil Collins, for everything you did, but no one asked you to go that hard. Mr. Phil Collins, no one asked you to go that hard for an animated movie about a white man raised by monkeys. But thank you for your service. I mean, to this day, I still quote, are you sure it's safe, Mom? It doesn't seem sanitary to me. Anytime I don't want to do something. It doesn't seem sanitary to me. Why would I engage with that? This movie has some iconic quotes. Important messaging for children. I'm an adult at this point, so that's why it's going in B tier, because would I rewatch it these days? No. But its themes, its messages, even the animation style really held up, and that's why Tarzan, B tier. Rounding out the B tier is going to be Spirited Away. This movie really is iconic, culturally historic, impactful, just really good. And you're probably like, why is it B tier? Well, because I watched it once and was too scared to ever watch it again. So it's not S tier. S tier is gonna have to be a movie that I watch a billion, trillion, gazillion times, okay? I just really like the themes and the way they delivered the message throughout the movie, in that you need to own your name and own who you are. Be careful about greed, because it could ruin you in so many ways. Not just like financial greed, but like greed, like resource and and just like an inability to think and put other people before you. You know, like greed is genuinely the root of all evil in humanity. Up first in the A tier, Girl Interrupted. If y'all have not seen this movie, I would like half recommend it, because these days everyone is so off the rails, it's gonna trigger a lot of people. But the greater message of the movie really, really needs to be driven home to a lot of people, in that romanticizing mental illness can be very dangerous, and that healing is possible, but it's gonna require work, you know? Like you can't just expect things to be better because you want them to be. You gonna have to do the work. And as Kim Kardashian once said, nobody wants to work these days. Y'all need to get up and get on y'all Zoom, okay? Having mental illness, hello, is one thing. Doing nothing about it and surrendering to it, that's just not the way to live life. And I'm gonna end this thought by saying, I get that resources aren't available to everyone. I understand the state of the world we live in, but Girl Interrupted, even though this movie's like 50 years old at this point, really, really, it's just, this movie does a really good job at showing the relationship between Susanna and Lisa, right? And how Susanna really just is misunderstanding the goal of the environment she's in, whereas Lisa is just a chaotic mess who has no intentions of bettering her life. So sometimes you gotta let those people do what they gonna do so that you can focus on getting better. And then to round out the A tier, Mallrats. If y'all have not seen this movie, you need to. It's a quintessential 90s rom-com comedy. Why did I pick up my mouse just now? My favorite thing about Mallrats, and the key takeaway, is to not take people for granted, right? Outside of Jay and Silent Bob, outside of the little picture that you have to make your eyes blur to focus on, outside of the dating show, outside of everything going on in Mallrats, the key takeaway is that you have to treat your partner with respect, right? And growing up and growing in a relationship doesn't always take a lot. Sometimes you just need to realize when you're being selfish and how to stop doing that. Like, growth isn't always this dramatic process that takes a lot of, deep thinking and conversation. Sometimes it's as simple as, hey, maybe I'll be a little less selfish tomorrow. All right, getting into the S tier, starting strong with Cloverfield. This movie gets a lot of mixed reviews, but I love me a good, found footage film, especially when they're done right. And what really excites me about Cloverfield is that it drives home the point that disaster and chaos doesn't always have an explanation. Sometimes things just happen, and then they keep happening, and they will continue to keep getting worse until there's simply nothing left. And the best solution to those type of situations is to be grateful for where you are and what you have, right? The whole point of the movie is the main character trying to get back to his ex-girlfriend to make sure that she's okay and to make sure she's safe. People are dying left and right, but he puts her first because he's starting to realize that at the end of the day, if the world was ending, I'd want to be next to you. Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars wrote that song about Cloverfield. And, that we can argue about it in the comments, but I'm right. And if you disagree, you're wrong. At the end of the day, Cloverfield pushes the message that no matter how fragile life is, and how quickly things can flip and turn on a dime, it's really important to hold on to who you love and what you love, even as the world is literally collapsing around you. I love how it kind of encapsulates how fragile existing is, how fragile humanity is, and how, despite how dark things get, the resiliency of the human spirit and our desire to hold on to who we love really, really at the end of the day is what matters. And that's why Cloverfield S tier, baby. And then rounding out this list and the last movie in the S tier, you guessed it, Blair Witch Project. This movie changed my life. I'll never forget the first time I watched this movie was at a sleepover with some guys who I barely knew in a tent outside their house. We had one of those like portable DVD player situations, and they were like, "Hey, let's watch this comedy." Baby, that was not a comedy. And they knew I was a scaredy cat, so they really set me up. But this movie really did start my love for found footage type films. And as I got older and learned how the movie was filmed, it only made me more interested in the process and kind of fall deeper in love with the movie. For those of you unaware, they essentially put these actors in a forest with walkie-talkies, okay? And in between scenes and stuff like that, they would get updates on what the next scene kind of expected of them. And then, if I'm not mistaken, they improv'd essentially the entire movie dialogue-wise. And, like, that's why it seems so scary and so raw, is because they were really scared for their life. They thought they had the spirit hunting them. They didn't know what was going on. And I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, they knew they were being filmed for a movie, but if you've seen the way that movie ends, oh my goodness, you couldn't pay me any amount of money in the world to go into that house and do any, like, it's just, oh my goodness gracious. All right, I'm sure this entire thing was a chaotic mess and I just babbled and said the same words over and over again, but thank you for being here. Make sure to do your homework, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok, okay? That's where I'm posting questions and getting engagement from you guys and ideas for what I'm doing next week. All right, I'm going for real this time. And if you disagree with me, let's argue about it in the comments.